storyteller of the afternoon happens to also be a WOSAC board member. It is Rose Snyder. After growing up in Phoenix and going to the University of Arizona, the belly of the beast, Rose's passion for swimming drew her to Colorado to work for USA Swimming at the Olympic Training Center. She met her husband, Charlie, while working for USA Swimming, and they raised their 3 children in Colorado Springs. Her work with the Olympic swimming movement helped her establish Rose Snyder Consulting, and involved doing governance consulting work for dozens on the national sports governing bodies. This work includes board training, strategic planning, and team building. Most recently, she has worked within the field of education, helping leaders discover how to transform their teachers and staff into high-performing teams. She also enjoys and leads women's retreats that focus on personal and professional development. Rose currently serves as a board member on WOSAC and Junior Achievement of Arizona. She is also excited to be a part-time swim coach for the La Paloma swim team. Please join me in welcoming Rose Snyder.
Thank you. And you know, I feel like it's the Academy Awards when you say it's such an honor to be up, but I kind of feel like I don't belong here. I felt like when Cassandra said that, I thought, oh my goodness, this is a little exciting and overwhelming. So I'd like to start off first by saying I was inspired to share this story because of my relationship with my daughters. Both women and gender scholars at Pacific Lutheran University. Carly is now a PhD student in New York, but Gina is graduating this spring. And we were talking about gender equity. I have learned so much in the last 4 or 5 years through my girls. I was sharing some stories of things that happened to me early in my career in gender equity, and my daughter Carly's mouth about hit the floor. Mom, you're kidding. And I thought, oh my gosh, we just continue each generation to stand on the shoulders of those that came before us. And it was shocking to me that the situations where I experienced some discrimination were shocking to her. And I thought, this is important to share this story. So Mel encouraged me to share that story. So in the way of context, I want to share something with you. I do come from the athletic world. In 1972, Title IX was passed. And I'm sure everybody in here knows what Title IX means. But for me as a young person, once again, standing on those shoulders, it meant that I got to experience high school swimming all 4 years of high school. And when I came to swim at the University of Arizona, we were a Division I NC2A sport. So lots of opportunities that I just took for granted until I got a little bit older and realized that wasn't necessarily the case for the generations that came before me. So very grateful for those things and the efforts that women have paved for me in my life. So we're in the early 1980s, of course, in love with swimming. I got a degree in physical education and decided I wasn't going to teach. I was going to start being a swim coach, still teaching. So in 1980, I started coaching swimming. And I grew up coaching in the same swim club here in Glendale, Arizona, actually. And I had a BHAG. Anybody a fan of Jim Collins? Read the book Good to Great? A BHAG is a big, hairy, audacious goal. And my BHAG, when I first started coaching as a very driven young coach, now you've got to listen carefully to this. I was going to be the first female Division I head coach of men's swimming. That's a BHAG, because it doesn't even exist today, okay? So, but I was excited about coaching, and I loved working with children, and I loved inspiring people to do things they didn't think they were capable of doing. So when I was there at Glendale, our head coach ended up moving on for another opportunity, and he said, Rose can do it. You don't have to do a search. She's got this. Anybody work with nonprofit boards, especially parent-run boards of athletic, back to the Little League mentality? It works for the parents too. Well, we had lots of money on our club. We were blessed. And they decided that they were going to do a search for a named coach, which really meant male coach. And I was invited to throw my hat in the ring. which I did. Long story short, this interim period went on for about 18 months. And while this interim period was going on, we won the 1987 state championship. We had several kids go on to compete at the national level. We had a 1988 Olympic trial qualifier. Things were going well. The parents on the team were very happy. The board was still going full steam ahead to get a named coach in. So when it came down to the point, there were 3 finalists, 2 males and then me. So after the 2 males had turned the position down, okay, it was like, yes! They decided to reopen the search. Of course, right? Mind you, I'm about 27 years old right at this particular point in time. And I'm in total shock. I had also been fortunate enough to be recruited and interviewed for a coaching position in Las Vegas with David Marsh, who you probably won't recognize the name, but he was the 2012 and 2016 Olympic coach. And it was like, okay, I'm going to go to Las Vegas. Also, it didn't hurt that he was very good looking. Sorry to my husband here. But I said, I'm just going to say, you know, screw you people, I'm going to Vegas. Well, as I got to consider this, and the board president at the time stood up to our board, and he said, I'm out of here, I'm resigning, and I haven't talked to her, but I wouldn't blame Rose if she considered a discrimination suit. Well, this scared the shit out of the board. And they were like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. Well, the second guy that they interviewed, his name was Bill Peak. Some of you who know swimming or recognize the name Mary T. He coached Mary T., Madam Butterfly. She set the world record at age 13 in 1981, and that record stood for 20 years. So I was really excited at the thought that Bill Peak was going to come and coach our team. I thought, this is a mentor, somebody I can learn from. All the coaches would be very happy. Well, he quickly sized up the situation with our board and decided to decline an offer. So he called me before he called the board to turn it down, and he said, Rosie, I'm going to tell you what I asked for, because you don't deserve a penny less. Meanwhile, my interim salary was $33,000. The head coach before me was making $50,000. Okay? And he said, I asked for $60,000, and probably more important than the money, I asked for a permanent seat on the nominating committee so I could make sure that we get the right people on the board. And I thought, how smart is that? You know, you get to pick your own boss kind of thing, you know? So anyway, he turned it down. They realized they would have a discrimination suit on their hands, so they offered me the job. My salary was going to be, it was $33,000, $33,500. Okay? And they decided at that point, this young coach, they would need to write my goals for me. So I'm sitting here going like, you know, to hell with you guys, I'm going to Las Vegas. But I went to talk this over with my mom. Meanwhile, the swim parents, who were very happy with what was going on, got together, signed a petition, and they started to raise money. They raised $8,000. The parents, outside of the fees of the club, because they thought I was worthy of the money. And so I went to my mom, I said, Mom, I gotta ask you a question. And my dad passed away when I was 13. He was an athletic coach all growing up. And I said, I'm gonna ask you a question, but I'm not gonna ask you what you think. I wanna ask you, if Dad was right here right now, what would Dad tell me to do? And she said, that's easy. She said, your dad would say that regardless of the money or the title, do you think you can stay there and make a difference? You already have. If the answer is yes, then you should stay and prove those assholes wrong. And she goes, and if the answer is no, get on the plane and go work with David Marsh. So I met with the parents that signed the petition and were raising money for me. And I said, I'm going to take this job on one condition. I said, the money should be coming from the club, not from you. So I need a commitment from all of you, one at a time, to replace these idiots on the board so we can work together to build a legacy and provide the program that these kids deserve. They agreed to do that. I agreed to stay. So we went on to have great success, and once again, right after I left the program, they had a 9th at the Olympic trials, Adam Bach in the 200 butterfly, oddly enough. I was recruited away to go work for USA Swimming at the Olympic Training Center in 1990. I was so excited to be there. That was really a great honor. There was probably only about 30 people on the staff at the time, and I was the club services director, and I was hired to run programming for all of the clubs in United States Swimming. So I was really excited. Shortly after that, I got promoted to the director of club services. About the same time, there was a new position created called the athlete and coach development director. And I thought, oh my gosh, this might be really fun because I can work more directly with the athletes and with the coaches, which I was a coach. I thought this would be a very fun position. So I went in to speak to the executive director, and I inquired about the position, and he said, oh, Rose, he goes, yes, it's going to be a lateral move. It won't be a promotion. It won't be any more money. I'm really happy where you are and what you're doing. So I kind of thought, rewind back to what happened to me at Glendale. For some reason, and you know, I can hear my mother's voice right now, write it all down, document. So I went into my office and I wrote all this down and I documented everything that Ray said to me. Well, lo and behold, they hire a man at significantly more money than I was making. So they were smart enough to know something might be awry. So the HR director was instructed to meet with me and inform me this. I remember these meetings. I remember sitting in the exact office. And the HR director said to me, I've been asked to speak with you. We have hired a gentleman, and he's going to be coming in at significantly more money than you're making. And I go, what's significant? 10,000? She goes, 15,000. And I went, well, we have a problem. So I would like a meeting with the executive director, and I'm probably going to inform the national board. Because I thought, this is ridiculous. Shame, you know, fool me once kind of thing. So anyway, to make a long story short, within a period of weeks, I had a $15,000 raise. And talk about inequity, that bumped me above all the women senior directors that were my boss. So guess what? They all got a raise too. So and I love swimming. I'm not going to bash anything about swimming. This was, you know, in the early 90s, but I'm telling you, where did I learn to stand up for myself? Well, I wish she was here, but it's my mom. You know, my mom was widowed at 39, 4 kids, you know, all teenagers. And somewhere, my mom was a feminist when feminism was an F word, really, right? And she was one of the first members of NOW, National Organization of Women. So I learned these lessons that I didn't know were going to need to hold me in good stead as I was a young adult. And I share this with all of you today because guess what? I'm learning those lessons now. The reason I'm in WOSAC is because of my own daughters. My oldest daughter, Carly, studies, she's a PhD student in New York and is really focused in history, but mostly in the Holocaust. And we have constant discussions about how important it is to learn from the past. History has such new meaning for me, not only because of the subject matter and the study of the Holocaust, but also because if we don't learn from the sins and the great things of the past, we're destined to repeat them. And it also inspired me to realize that we not only have to stand up for ourselves, but other people who are being treated inequitably, whatever they are. And this gave me the courage to stand up, speak up, and I encourage you guys to do the same. So I say just do it, like a Nike thing. I hate to say that. But also, and I thought this was, I stole this, my husband gave this to me. And as Billy Joel says when he ends all of his concerts, do you know what he says? Don't take any shit. Thank you very much.